An hour after I walked out of my cousin's wedding, my aunt called screaming that the venue was kicking them out. She had no idea that the venue owner was me. My name is Jake Morrison. I'm 28 years old, and this story is about what happens when family treats you like you're beneath them until they need something. I grew up in Portland, Oregon with parents who weren't wealthy but worked hard. Dad was an electrician, mom was a bookkeeper. We lived comfortably but simply. My extended family was different. My mom's sister Patricia, my aunt Pat, married a guy named Richard who made good money in tech sales. They lived in a big house in the suburbs, drove luxury cars, and made sure everyone knew they were doing better than the rest of the family. They had 2 kids, my cousin Madison, who's 26, and my cousin Blake, who's 24. Both of them inherited their parents' attitude about money and status. Madison especially loved to remind everyone that her family was more successful. Growing up, family gatherings were uncomfortable. Aunt Pat would make comments about our house being small, our cars being old, my dad's job being blue collar. Uncle Richard would joke about how some people were built for success and others were built for service work. My parents would smile tightly and change the subject. They didn't want drama, didn't want to make things awkward. So they let it slide. I learned early that in my extended family, money meant respect, and if you didn't have money, you didn't matter. When I was 18, I started working at a restaurant called the Garden House. It was this beautiful venue that hosted weddings and events, sitting on 5 acres of landscape property with gardens, a gazebo, and a stunning indoor reception hall. I started as a server, making minimum wage plus tips. The owner was a man named Frank Castellano, who was 65 and had run the Garden House for 30 years. He was tough but fair, and he saw something in me. After 6 months of serving, he promoted me to event coordinator assistant. "You've got good instincts," Frank told me. "You see what needs to happen before it happens." That's rare. I worked there through college, going to Portland State part-time while working full-time at the Garden House. I learned everything about running events: logistics, catering, guest management, vendor coordination, crisis management. Frank taught me the business side too: how to price events, manage overhead, deal with difficult clients, market the venue. He treated me like the son he never had. When I was 24, Frank called me into his office. "Jake, I'm getting old. My wife wants to retire to Arizona. I'm thinking about selling the Garden House." My heart sank. This place was my second home. "I wanted to offer it to you first," Frank continued. "I know you don't have money for a full purchase, but I could do owner financing. You'd make payments to me over 10 years instead of getting a bank loan." "How much are you asking?" "The property is worth about $1.2 million. I'd sell it to you for $900,000 with owner financing. $20,000 down, then monthly payments over 10 years. It's below market because I want it to go to someone who'll take care of it." I had $22,000 saved from 4 years of working and living cheap with roommates. It was supposed to be my emergency fund, but this was my chance to own something real. "I'll do it," I said. We shook hands. 3 months later, at age 24, I became the owner of the Garden House. My family's reaction was mixed. My parents were proud but worried about the debt. Aunt Pat was dismissive. "A restaurant? That's so risky, Jake. Most restaurants fail within 5 years. You should have gotten a real job with benefits and stability." "It's an event venue, not a restaurant." "Same thing. You're in the service industry. That's not exactly a career path for someone who wants to build wealth." I ignored her. I was too busy running a business. The first 2 years were brutal. I worked 80-hour weeks, handled every detail personally, took a tiny salary just to keep the business afloat. But slowly, I built a reputation. The Garden House became known for perfect events, attention to detail, and gorgeous grounds. By year 3, I was profitable. By year 4, I was doing well enough to hire a full management team. By year 5, I'd paid Frank off completely, 3 years early, and owned the property outright. The business was worth over $2 million now, and I was making around $250,000 a year in profit. I'd bought a nice condo, upgraded my car, invested in the stock market. I was doing better than fine, but I didn't talk about money with my extended family. I'd learned that lesson from my parents. Keep your head down, don't brag, just live your life. Meanwhile, Aunt Pat and Uncle Richard continued to be status-obsessed snobs. Madison had gotten engaged to a guy named Trevor who worked in finance. They were planning a huge wedding, and the family was expected to treat it like a royal event. I'd been dating my girlfriend Emma for 8 months. She was a kindergarten teacher making $42,000 a year. She was kind, funny, smart, and I was crazy about her. She came from a working-class family like mine. Her dad was a plumber, her mom was a nurse. When I told my family I was bringing Emma to Madison's wedding, Aunt Pat's response was lukewarm. "Oh, a teacher, that's nice. Very noble profession." The implication was clear. Teaching wasn't impressive to her. The wedding was scheduled for a Saturday evening at a venue across town. It was nice, but not as nice as the Garden House, which gave me some petty satisfaction. Emma and I arrived on time, dressed well. Emma wore a beautiful blue dress she'd saved up for, and she looked amazing. We found our seats at a table near the back, not at the family table, which I found odd, but didn't comment on. The ceremony was fine. Madison looked happy. Trevor seemed like a decent guy. The reception started, and that's when things got weird. Servers started bringing out meals. Beautiful plated steak dinners with roasted vegetables and garlic mashed potatoes. The smell was incredible. Emma and I waited for our plates. They never came. We watched as every table around us got served. The family table got their meals. The friends' tables got their meals. But our table, which had 3 couples who'd all brought +1s from outside the family, was skipped. Emma looked at me confused. Did they forget us? Maybe. I'll check. I flagged down a server. Excuse me, we didn't get meals? The server looked uncomfortable. I'm sorry, sir. I was told only family members and invited guests get full meals. +1s who aren't part of the family get alternative options. Alternative options? Yes, sir. I'll bring them out shortly. 5 minutes later, the server returned with a basket. Inside were granola bars, the cheap kind you buy in bulk at Costco. She handed one to Emma, one to me, and one to each of the other +1s at our table. Emma stared at the granola bar. Is this a joke? I was about to stand up and say something when Aunt Pat's voice came over the microphone. She was standing next to Madison, holding a glass of champagne. I want to take a moment to explain something, Aunt Pat announced to the room. As Madison's mother, I've planned this wedding with careful attention to budget and family. We've made the decision to only provide full meals to people who contribute to this family. +1s who aren't family members are welcome to attend, but we're not serving full dinners to people we barely know. She said this while looking directly at our table. The room got quiet. People looked uncomfortable. I saw my parents at the family table looking mortified. We've provided alternative options for these guests, Aunt Pat continued, and we hope they understand that weddings are expensive and we have to make choices about where our money goes. She sat down, looking pleased with herself. Uncle Richard was laughing, like this was the funniest thing he'd ever seen. Emma's face was red. She was trying not to cry. The other +1s at our table looked humiliated. That's when Uncle Richard walked over to our table, champagne in hand, that smug smile on his face. Sorry about the confusion, he said, but he didn't sound sorry at all. Nothing personal, just can't afford to feed everyone's random dates, you know? Maybe next time Jake will date someone from a better family who'd actually be invited properly. He laughed and walked away. Emma was shaking. Can we leave? I looked at her, at the granola bar in her hand, at my aunt and uncle looking so proud of themselves for humiliating people at their daughter's wedding. Something inside me snapped. Not angry snapping, but clarity snapping. Yeah, we're leaving. I stood up, took Emma's hand, and we walked out. Didn't say goodbye, didn't make a scene, just left. In the parking lot, Emma started crying. I'm so sorry. This is because of me. Your family thinks I'm not good enough. This isn't about you. This is about them being cruel, status-obsessed snobs who get off on making people feel small. But you're going to have problems with your family now. Good. If leaving means I have problems with people who would do this to you, then I don't want a relationship with them anyway. We got in my car and drove back to my place. Emma was quiet the whole drive, processing what had happened. What my family didn't know was that I'd left something important behind at that wedding. My patience, my tolerance for their behavior, and my willingness to keep quiet about what I actually did for a living. We'd been home for about an hour when my phone rang. Aunt Pat. I didn't want to answer, but something told me to pick up. Hello? She was screaming. Not talking loudly, screaming. Jake, what the hell is going on? They just kicked us out. The venue people are saying the bill wasn't paid and they're shutting down the reception. Everyone's being forced to leave. What is happening? I felt a cold smile spread across my face. What do you mean they're shutting it down? The venue manager just came in and announced that there's a payment issue and they can't continue service. They're kicking everyone out. The DJ stopped. The bar closed. They're clearing the room. Madison is crying. This is her wedding day. Do something. Why would I do something? Because you work in events. You know people. Can you call someone? Can you fix this? Aunt Pat, I do work in events. I own an event venue, actually. Have for 4 years. Silence. What? I own the Garden House. It's worth about $2 million now. I make around $250,000 a year. I'm doing quite well, despite working in the service industry. You own a venue? Yeah, and you know what I would never do at my venue? Serve granola bars to someone's date while making an announcement about how they don't contribute to the family. That's cruel. That's tacky. That's the kind of behavior that makes me not want to help when venues kick out people who can't pay their bills. Jake, please. Madison's wedding is being ruined. Madison's wedding was already ruined when her mother decided to humiliate my girlfriend in front of 100 people. You made your choices. Now you get to deal with the consequences. You're really not going to help? Why would I help people who think I'm beneath them? Why would I help an aunt who spent my entire life making comments about my family not being successful enough? Why would I help an uncle who just told me my girlfriend isn't from a good enough family? That was a joke. It wasn't funny, and the granola bars weren't funny, and your announcement wasn't funny. You wanted to make people feel small to make yourself feel big. Congratulations, you succeeded. Now your daughter's wedding is being shut down and there's nothing I can do about it. That was a lie. I could call the venue, explain there was a misunderstanding, probably smooth things over, but I wasn't going to. I can't believe you're doing this. You're family. Family serves each other steak, Aunt Pat, not granola bars. Maybe next time you'll remember that. I hung up. My phone immediately started blowing up. Texts from my mom. Jake, what's happening at the wedding? Patricia called us crying. Texts from Madison. I don't know what you did, but my wedding is ruined. How could you do this to me? Texts from Uncle Richard. You better fix this right now or you're dead to this family. Texts from cousins, aunts, uncles, everyone weighing in on how I was destroying Madison's special day. I turned my phone on silent and looked at Emma. I might have just nuked my relationship with half my family. What did you do? Nothing. I just didn't save them from their own mess. Emma looked worried. Jake, they're going to blame you for this. Let them. They've been looking down on me for years. Let them find out exactly who they were looking down on. The next morning, I woke up to 67 missed calls and over 100 text messages. I scrolled through them, watching my family lose their minds. From Aunt Pat. The venue charged us double to restart service. We had to pay an extra $15,000 to finish the reception. This is your fault. From Madison. My wedding was humiliated. Half the guests left because of the disruption. Photos are ruined. This was supposed to be the best day of my life, and you destroyed it. From Uncle Richard. You're a spiteful, petty little man. You couldn't handle a joke, so you sabotaged your own cousin's wedding. You're no longer welcome in this family. From my mom. Jake, please call me. Everyone's very upset. Patricia is saying you knew about the payment issue and didn't warn them. I don't understand what happened. I called my mom. She answered on the first ring. Jake, what is going on? Patricia is telling everyone you ruined Madison's wedding. I didn't ruin anything, Mom. I just didn't save them from their own problem. What does that mean? I told her everything. The granola bars, the announcement, Uncle Richard's comment about Emma not being from a good enough family. My mom was silent as I talked. They gave Emma a granola bar? She finally said. While everyone else got steak, yeah. And Patricia announced this to the whole wedding? Over the microphone. My mom's voice got hard in a way I'd never heard before. Those people. I have spent 30 years biting my tongue while Patricia made comments about your father's job and our house and our cars. I've smiled through it because she's my sister and I thought family was supposed to be kind to each other. But doing that to Emma, humiliating her at a family wedding, that's unforgivable. I left, Mom. I wasn't going to sit there and watch them treat Emma like that. You did the right thing. And whatever happened with that venue, that's not your fault. Actually, it kind of is. I know the owner. I may have mentioned to them recently that Patricia's family has a history of not paying bills on time. That was a lie. I didn't know the venue owner at all. The venue shutdown was probably a legitimate payment issue that had nothing to do with me, but my family had already decided I was responsible, so I might as well own it. Jake. They served my girlfriend a granola bar, Mom. They made an announcement about how plus ones don't deserve meals. They laughed about it. I'm not apologizing for anything. My mom sighed. I'm not asking you to apologize. I'm just worried this is going to split the family. The family's already split. It's just finally visible now. Over the next few days, the family drama intensified. Aunt Pat sent a massive group text to the entire family explaining how I'd sabotaged Madison's wedding out of jealousy and spite, how I'd always been resentful of their success, how I couldn't handle them having nice things. My cousins piled on. Blake sent me a message calling me pathetic. Madison sent a long email about how I'd destroyed the most important day of her life, and she'd never forgive me. Uncle Richard left me a voicemail threatening to sue me for intentional interference with business relations, which was nonsense but showed how desperate he was to blame someone. My parents' phone was ringing constantly with family members demanding they do something about me. Some sided with Aunt Pat, saying I was out of line for not helping. Others stayed quiet, probably uncomfortable with the whole situation, but a few family members reached out privately with support. My Aunt Linda, my dad's sister, called me. I heard about what happened. I just want you to know that what Patricia did was disgraceful. Serving some guests granola bars while others got full meals, making an announcement about it, that's not how you treat people at a family event. Thank you for saying that. I also heard Richard made some comment about Emma not being from a good enough family. Is that true? Yeah, he said maybe next time I'd date someone from a better family. That man is a classist snob and always has been. I'm glad you walked out. Emma deserves better than to be treated like that. My cousin Tyler, who was my age and had also been looked down on by Aunt Pat's side of the family, sent me a text. Heard about the wedding. About time someone stood up to Patricia and Richard. They've been treating people like garbage for years. Good for you. But the majority of the family sided with Aunt Pat. In their minds, I'd ruined Madison's wedding because I couldn't take a joke. The granola bar thing was just a funny way to save money. Uncle Richard was just teasing. I was too sensitive, too dramatic, too petty. A week after the wedding, Aunt Pat called me directly. We need to talk. I don't think we do. Jake, please. This family drama needs to end. Madison's wedding was supposed to be a beautiful memory, and now it's ruined. We need to figure out how to move past this. Move past you humiliating my girlfriend? It wasn't humiliation. It was a practical decision about catering costs. Emma wasn't even family yet. Why should we spend $100 on a meal for someone we barely know? Because she's my girlfriend and I'm your nephew. Because treating people with basic respect doesn't require them to pass some family membership test. You're overreacting. And you're not apologizing, so I guess we're done here. What do you want? An apology? Fine. I'm sorry Emma felt bad about the meal situation. There, happy? That's not an apology. That's you apologizing for Emma's feelings, not for your actions. My actions were practical. We were managing a budget. Your actions were cruel. You could have reduced everyone's meal quality to save money. Instead, you specifically chose to humiliate plus ones who weren't family enough for you. That was intentional. If you're going to be this dramatic about it, then maybe it's better if you don't come to family events anymore. Agreed. Have a nice life, Aunt Pat. I hung up. That should have been the end of it. But 3 weeks after the wedding, I got a call from Madison. Jake, I need to talk to you. Madison, I don't think we have anything to say to each other. Please, just 5 minutes. I sighed. Fine, 5 minutes. Trevor and I went on our honeymoon to Hawaii. It was amazing, really beautiful. But when we got back and started looking at wedding photos and talking to guests, I started hearing about what happened. Your mom's announcement? Yeah, and what my dad said to Emma. I didn't hear it during the wedding because I was busy with photos and greeting people. But multiple guests mentioned it afterward. They said it was uncomfortable and weird, and some of them left early because of it. It was uncomfortable and weird. I talked to my mom about it. She said it was just a budget thing, that she was trying to save money, and plus ones were an easy cut. Did she mention the announcement she made, explaining to the entire wedding that some guests didn't deserve meals because they don't contribute to the family? Madison was quiet for a moment. She said she wanted to be transparent about the decision. Madison, that's not transparency. That's public humiliation. I'm starting to see that. Trevor's parents heard about it, and they were horrified. His mom asked if our family always treats people like that. I didn't know what to say. What do you want me to say, Madison? I'm sorry your wedding got disrupted, genuinely. But I'm not sorry I left. Your mom served my girlfriend a granola bar, and your dad made a comment about her not being from a good enough family. I wasn't going to sit there and smile through that. I know, and I'm sorry that happened. I'm calling to apologize. What my parents did was wrong. You shouldn't have been put in that position. I was stunned. You're apologizing? Yeah. It took me a few weeks to see past my anger about the wedding being disrupted. But when I really thought about what happened, about how it looked from your perspective, I realized you were right to leave. I would have left too if Trevor's family had treated me like that. Thank you for saying that. Are you ever going to come to family events again? Not if your parents are there, no. And that's fair. For what it's worth, Trevor and I aren't planning to be around them as much either. This whole thing made us realize how much they care about appearances over people. After Madison's call, I felt lighter. At least one person from that side of the family understood. Emma and I are still together, stronger than ever, actually. She met my parents for dinner a few weeks after the wedding, and they were wonderful to her. My mom hugged her and apologized for what Aunt Pat had done. My dad told her that any woman who could handle that situation with grace was welcome in our family any time. As for Aunt Pat and Uncle Richard, I haven't spoken to them since. They're apparently still telling people I sabotaged the wedding, that I'm bitter and jealous of their success. Let them think whatever they want. The truth is simpler than their conspiracy theories. They spent years looking down on people they thought were beneath them. They made cruel decisions about who deserved basic respect based on family status and money. And when someone finally walked away from their toxicity, they couldn't handle it. I didn't sabotage Madison's wedding. I just refused to save them from their own consequences. There's a difference. Last month I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I answered out of curiosity. Is this Jake Morrison from the Garden House? Yes, who's calling? This is Trevor, Madison's husband. I got your business number from your website. Madison and I are planning a first anniversary party, and we'd love to host it at your venue if you're available. You want to host your party at my venue? Yeah, Madison showed me pictures online. It's beautiful, And after everything that happened at our wedding, we want our anniversary to be different. No drama, no status games, just good people celebrating together. Your venue seems perfect for that." I smiled. "I'd be happy to host your anniversary party." "And Trevor, everyone who comes gets a full meal. No granola bars." He laughed. "That's exactly what we're hoping for." Sometimes the best revenge isn't dramatic or explosive. Sometimes it's just living well, maintaining your boundaries, and letting people face the natural consequences of their actions. Aunt Pat and Uncle Richard wanted a wedding that showed off their status and made it clear who mattered in the family. They got exactly that. They also got a disrupted reception, angry guests, and a daughter who learned that caring more about appearances than people comes at a cost. I got something better. I got to walk away with my dignity intact, my girlfriend respected, and my family relationships clarified. I know exactly who my real family is now, and it's not the people who think love and respect should be earned through social status. It's the people who would never dream of serving someone a granola bar while everyone else eats steak.